Hey guys, welcome back to Hoops with Miles, where today I have my second episode of Let Me Rant. Today, I will be talking about one of the most contentious topics in basketball history, going over who is the greatest basketball player of all time. While there have been many amazing basketball players through the history of the NBA and all other basketball organizations, two stand out as the most important. These two players are LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Both of these players have seen unparalleled both team and individual success and have different reasons that point to them being the greatest basketball player of all time. Today, I will be going over arguments for and against each of them, comparing their stats and accolades, along with narratives about their careers, and then giving my insight into who I think is the best basketball player of all time. To lay the framework for the first couple arguments for each of these players, it's important to talk about the era in which they played. Michael Jordan played in the 1980s and 1990s. This was an era defined by its defense, in which a lot of the rules that hampered defenses going forward had not been implemented yet. These rules being the hand-checking rule, in which a player can keep their hand on the offensive player at all times, and the defensive 3-second rule, which doesn't allow the defensive players to stand in the paint for more than 3 seconds, which would allow them to provide a lot of rim pressure and block way more shots. In contrast, LeBron James plays in an era with these rules, which constitutes a lot more offense overall and more opportunities to score. He also notably plays in an era in which the three-pointer is encouraged, as in the 1980s and 1990s, a lot of teams did not embrace the three-pointer as they thought it was an inefficient shot. So while LeBron James played in a more scoring-friendly era, it is widely argued that Michael Jordan is the greatest scorer of all time. When looking at the numbers, Michael Jordan averages 30 points per game as compared to LeBron's 27 points per game. They both shoot around 50% from the field, but what's interesting is that LeBron James, despite being in a more three-point friendly era, shoots only 2% higher from the three-point line than Michael Jordan does. While this is not as impressive when you think about the fact that LeBron James has a lot more attempts per game, it's still interesting to think about because Michael Jordan was not a three-point shooter by any means. So the argument for Michael Jordan to be the best scorer of all time is that he puts up insane numbers during an era in which defense was paramount. Now, there is a new argument that has come forward about LeBron James that puts a dampener on that argument for Michael Jordan. This comes with the all-time scoring record, which LeBron James recently broke. This means that over all of his regular seasons, LeBron James has scored more total points than any other player ever. This is because LeBron James has played a lot of seasons and has been dominant in almost every one of them. While this doesn't prove LeBron James was a better pure scorer than Michael Jordan, it does show that LeBron James has been an effective scorer for a long time. This perfectly transitions into one of the best arguments for why LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time, which is his longevity. LeBron James is a current player that has played 22 seasons in the NBA, tied for the most ever with Vince Carter, while Michael Jordan only played 15. It can be argued that LeBron James has been at an all-star level for all 22 seasons and shows no signs of stopping, as he is currently one of the top 15 players in the game still. Never before have we been able to see a player of this caliber stay at this level for so long, showing just how truly special LeBron James is. He has remained dominant, fast, and athletic, and has not been stopped in any facets of the game throughout his entire 22-year career. While it can be argued that Michael Jordan for the beginning of his career could have been an all-star every year, towards the end when he came out of retirement and played with the Washington Wizards, he was putting up mediocre to bad stats, which shows just how crazy it is that LeBron in year 22 is still as spectacular as he is. Moving away from the longevity argument, There's a lot to be said about how successful these players have been and the type of teammates they've played with. This leads into an argument that is commonly brought up when saying why LeBron James is not the greatest basketball player of all time, which is the argument that he's had too many all-star teammates. To start this conversation, let's talk about Michael Jordan's total all-star teammates. He played with Horace Grant, who was a good, serviceable player throughout his entire career, but only notched one all-star appearance. He also played with Dennis Rodman, who is seen as one of the best defenders and one of the best rebounders of all time, who had 2 all-star appearances in his career. What do these 2 players have in common? They were both all-stars while not playing with Michael Jordan, meaning that they were both past their all-star prime when playing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan only had one all-star teammate that played with him and was an all-star on the same team as him, who was Scottie Pippen, who was an all-star 6 times while playing with Michael Jordan and only 1 time without him. This leads to an interesting conversation about LeBron James when talking about his all-star teammates. To start, let's talk about all-stars who were only all-stars while on the team with LeBron James. Before I list them, it is important to mention that this all happened on 4 separate teams, which shows how much swing LeBron James has in the front office, which I will touch upon next. To start his career, he played in Cleveland, where both Mo Williams and Zydrunas Ilgauskas were one-time All-Stars. Then, he left to go to Miami, in which he joined an All-Star guard in Dwayne Wade, who was an All-Star 4 times with LeBron James, and brought along with him an All-Star power forward in Chris Bosh, who was also an All-Star 4 times. He then left Miami to go back to Cleveland, in which he played with another all-star pairing with a guard and a forward, being Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, who were both all-stars twice while playing with him. He then left to go to another team where he played with Anthony Davis, who has only been an all-star 1 time, but is looking like he will be on the all-star team again this season. Once you get past these players, there's 2 more sections of the kind of all-stars LeBron James played with. All-stars who were still serviceable, who LeBron James expected to be all-stars when he played with them, and all-stars that were past their prime, who were not expected to be at a high level while playing with LeBron James. Because LeBron James has played on a lot of different teams, there are more all-stars than I should list that he has crossed paths with, but the notable ones that played with LeBron James that were not expected to be that good are as follows. These players are Tyson Chandler, Kyle Korver, DeAndre Jordan, Marc Gasol, Derrick Rose, Ben Wallace, Rajon Rondo, and Shaquille O'Neal, along with Carmelo Anthony. While they were traded for and not expected to be that good, LeBron still traded for them, expecting them to put some. Now, there are some all-stars that LeBron James played with who were past their primes but were still expected to be very good. These are players such as Dwight Howard, Ray Allen, and Russell Westbrook. It is important to note that there are a lot of other notable all-stars LeBron James has played with, but they are not noteworthy enough to mention here. Named in that list of players was Russell Westbrook, who is the most important player to talk about when bringing up this discussion. LeBron James forced a trade through to trade for Russell Westbrook when there were a lot of better team-building opportunities on the table. Russell Westbrook was not far off of his MVP campaign, but was showing signs of slowing down. While there were better offers out there, LeBron James did not hesitate to vouch for bringing in Russell Westbrook, which proved to be one of the most disastrous moves of all time. Russell Westbrook did not play like himself and had a terrible season playing with them. This is a pattern with LeBron, as he did the same thing in Cleveland, trading away Kyrie Irving for another previous All-Star in Isaiah Thomas, who was hurt and was not even close to the player he used to be. LeBron James bullies front offices into making these types of moves, and then eventually leaves after they've spent all of their young talent and draft picks to get him. While Anthony Davis has been great for the Lakers, LeBron James forced the Lakers to trade 3 first-round picks along with Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and Josh Hart, with Brandon Ingram becoming an all-star and Josh Hart and Lonzo Ball being 2 of the most coveted role players in the entire league. This led to them getting both Anthony Davis and a championship, but has gutted the Lakers, and now that they are not that good anymore, the thought about rebuilding going forward is scary as they don't have that many young assets. I have spent a lot of time on these arbitrary things, but now let's see how they translate when it comes to winning. Despite having more all-star teammates, LeBron James has 2 less championships than Michael Jordan, with it being 4-6. Something important to mention here is that Michael Jordan is a perfect 6-0 in the NBA Finals. LeBron James is 4-6, having a losing record in the finals. They both won the Finals MVP every year in which they won the championship, so it's still 4-6. And LeBron James has 4 regular season MVPs as compared to Jordan's 5 regular season MVPs. It's at this point in the video you may be thinking, what realistic argument does LeBron James have for being the greatest player of all time? Well, that is definitely with his accumulated stats and his All-NBA and All-Star appearances. LeBron James has 20 All-NBA appearances out of the 22 seasons he has played, along with 20 All-Star appearances, as compared to Michael Jordan's 11 All-NBA and 14 All-Star appearances. LeBron James also just eclipsed 41,000 points, while Michael Jordan only has 32,000. LeBron also has 11,000 rebounds and assists, which puts him very high up on both lists. All of this comes with a usage percentage at 31.5%, which is 2% lower than Michael Jordan's usage percentage, but he does not put up the same amount of stats that LeBron James does. At this point, it's also important to mention that Michael Jordan was a much better defender, as he made 9 all-defensive teams as compared to LeBron's 6, and won a Defensive Player of the Year, which is something LeBron James never did. So the final main arguments for each of these players to be the greatest player of all time is that Michael Jordan was a better scorer in an era where defense was paramount, he is perfect in the playoffs, he was a better defender, and played with worse teammates overall, while LeBron James has put up sustained success like we have never seen, accumulated more counting stats, and has been to more finals, which shows he has more instances of playoff success, along with him being the all-time leading scorer in the NBA. So now is time for me to say who I believe is the greatest basketball player of all time. If this was a question of peak, I believe Michael Jordan would be the best of all time, because for a short amount of time, he was the best basketball player ever. But this isn't a discussion about peak, and I cannot stress enough how unbelievable it is that for 22 seasons, LeBron James has been a top 10 to a top 1 basketball player in the NBA. Throughout this time, he has carried hurt and bad teams to the finals multiple times and has brought teams to finals that had no business being anywhere near there. While I mentioned he had 2 all-star teammates in Cleveland his first couple years, both of them were argued to only have been all-stars because they were playing with LeBron James. While yes, LeBron James is 4-6 in the finals, he's also been to the finals 10 times, which is unheard of. He has the most all-star appearances and the most all-NBA appearances of any player ever, and is towards the top of every counting stat list ever. If this was a battle of peak, I believe Michael Jordan would be the best, but it's not, and it's who is the greatest basketball player of all time when we're looking at their career. And if we're looking at it through that lens, then it has to be LeBron James. We have never seen a player dominate like this for this long, accumulate this many stats, and be as widely regarded as the best player in the league for this long. And what's crazy about it is that he can continue to keep going as long as he wants. While I will not disagree with either take about either of these players being the best, it is my personal belief that because LeBron James has been able to do this for this long, it is unquestionable that he should be seen as the greatest player of all time. With that being said, that wraps up my thoughts about LeBron James and Michael Jordan being in the GOAT debate. If you enjoyed this video and like the Let Me Rant format, please watch my video about the Sacramento Kings, why they've been struggling and where they should go from here. And if you like my content in general, please watch my debates on whether certain players should make the Hall of Fame. With that being said, this is Hoops with Miles, and have a nice day.